Today, I'm bringing you video proof of how much of an improvement suspension technologies made over stock on my 2019 Harley Davidson Street Glide Special. For 25,000 miles, I ran the stock suspenders on my bike, and then a benevolent benefactor sent me a full front and rear setup of suspension technologies for that bike, and I've had them installed. I already did the ride review, how it feels. Today, we're taking a very close look at the actual stock rear shocks and suspension technologies rear shocks. I know the keyboard commandos are already in the comment section going, yeah, but your bike had 25K and the stocks are worn out and everybody knows that they're better, but I'm going to show you how today. And I know it's not an apples to apples comparison, but it's the best I could do. I got all these cameras, I got to have something to do with them, right? So I applied my knowledge of hooking up GoPros and I got the footage. So first we're going to take a look at some riding footage of the stock shocks. Then we're going to take a look at the suspension technology shocks. Then we're going to put it all together. I have spent hours looking at this footage, stabilizing it in my editor and all this other stuff to bring you the closest comparison that I can. So I really hope you enjoy this video and thank you for watching. If you're new here, this is kind of outside the realm, but this is kind of like, this is what I live for. I love doing this kind of creative stuff. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for continuing to support the channel with your viewership. Let's dive right in.
So we have the Hero 10 on the left shock, Hero 9 on the right shock, and Hero 12 is my point of view. And of course, it's starting to rain. Well, I don't know if the cameras are holding on, but the 10 is on the left bag, the 9 is on the right bag, and the 12 is what you're seeing now, but we're gonna hit some nice bumps up here because they haven't repaved this in years. And of course it's raining. So that should show us what the shocks are doing on the back of the Street Glide, the stock shocks. Going around a corner that's got some bumps, see if the shocks handle that real well, huh?
So what did you notice there, right? The left and right shocks are different. I had never actually bothered to notice that the left and right shocks were different. Look, up here in my head, I knew they were different. The left one has the adjustment for the preload, the right one doesn't. So I called them sort of a master and slave setup, and you can see from that footage that the right shock is doing all sorts of wonky stuff, and the left shock doesn't even have as much travel. So of course you're going to get wonky stuff. That just makes sense, right? I mean, that's how I look at it. Do you have a differing opinion? Did you notice something else? Leave me a comment below. And if you think this is cool so far, drop this video a like. Let some other Harley riders know that maybe an aftermarket suspension should be on their wish list. You know, I don't know what season it is when you're watching this, but everybody has a wish list, right? We all have parts lists. Oh, and what's on your parts list? I need to know. Leave a comment below. I want to get some ideas for my bike in the upcoming season. Now, let's take a look at the suspension technologies and how it handles bumps.
Okay, for today's test, we have the Hero 10 again on the left side, and then we've got the Hero 9 on the right side. Yep, they're all recording. Hero 12 again is right here. We're aiming with it, and we're gonna test out the suspension technology suspension. Yes, we're going to see if we can see a difference between these rear shocks and the stock rear shocks. Let's go. All right, we are coming up to our first big test. The cameras look like they're holding on well today. So we're going to go through this corner. This is one of the bumpiest corners around me. It's got a lot of undulating bumps that send a shock wave through the stock shocks. If I can talk, here we go. Look at that. What are they doing back there? It just, up here, it feels like nothing. It just feels like, yep, we had a couple of bumps, okay, and we just handled it for you. That's what it seriously feels like. This is so bonkers McGillicuddy. Good gracious, good googly moogly.
All right, that was cool, right? You notice a difference from the stock stuff? Now we're going to compare the stock versus suspension technologies, the left-hand shock. The footage just happened to be a little bit more stable, so you can really see. All right, let's play that footage. Now, as you can see, we're going over bumps, and the stock suspension has smaller coils, like the spring is physically smaller, and it doesn't react nearly as quick to the bumps as the suspension technologies does. Slowing it down to 50%, you can really tell how much quicker the suspension technologies reacts to the bumps over the stock stuff, and how much quicker it comes back into normal operating length, I guess, whatever they call that. Full extension. Now we're going to slow it down to 25%. This is super slow. I used the best stabilization and everything that Resolve has for me, so I got the footage as best I could. But look at the bumps. And these, again, remind you, are lined up. They're synced up. There's a crosswalk halfway through this set of bumps that I hit at the same speed, and there you can see it. It's kind of bonkers, right? Look at that. You can just see how much more movement there is in the suspension technology setup than the stock one, even though they're supposed to be the same overall length. And I will confirm that the bike sits lower, okay? It does sit lower. It scraped the transition flap on my ramp to my trailer. That's how much lower it is. And that was with just me sitting on it. I wasn't riding fast or anything like that. Is that not too cool for school or what? All right, so admittedly, in the next set of footage, the Jaws clamp I used to hold the Hero 9 didn't give me the most stable footage, so it's not as locked on as the Hero 10 was. Mea culpa, right? But you can really see the difference between the right-hand shock, which actually is a closer approximation to the suspension technology shocks in that it doesn't have a whole lot of anything going on, right? You know, the stock left shock has that big adjuster and a preload and all that stuff. So the springs are different left to right. On the right shock, yeah, the suspension technology still has its setup and the preload at the bottom. I get that. But the shock is longer on the stock one, so we're going to see some crazy stuff. And again, I've stabilized this as best I can, and we're going to slow it down. So let's take a look. Look at all that movement. That stock shock there on the left is just bouncy, 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 whereas the one on the right, that suspension technology shock, it does move around quite a bit. You know, it's compressing and decompressing, but it's doing it in a much less jittery fashion. Especially now you can see it at 50%. Wait until you see it at 25%. That is just nuts. I mean, these are two shocks going over the same bumps at this basic, not the same time, but it's synced up. And you can just see how much more movement there is in the stock shock. And it's just trying, but it stays compressed. It doesn't release as fast. Whereas the suspension technology shock is more smoothly handling the bumps. It's so much better damped that it's just really wild. And I'll remind you, I'm no engineer and I'm no mechanic, so I'm just going off of my seat of the pants and now looking at the footage review of this, okay? So you remember earlier I mentioned that the stock shocks were acting differently? Let's take a look at a real quick clip of the stock shocks left and right on screen. Here they are together at regular speed. Again, synced up, obviously, and you can see just how much more movement there is in the right-hand shock than the left one. It's just really wild. And a quick note, I did stabilize the footage differently for the right-hand shock because the footage was jittery, so I keyed on that top bolt. Okay, I keyed on the top bolt, so that's why it stayed in frame the whole time. Now, let's take a look at the ST shocks, suspension technologies. This is good stuff. I'm looking over here because that's where my screen is, about to show the footage. Now, here we go. Now, even though the footage is jitterier, is that a word? I don't know. On the right, you can see that the suspension technologies, the side-to-side is very even. They are doing the same thing at the same time, which in my eyes means the bike is going to handle better because it's not doing one of these maneuvers on you. I don't know. We're going to experience that in some upcoming videos. I'm probably going to spend a lot of time talking about it. Apologies. Sorry, not sorry. Now, for the thing you've all been waiting for. The 4 square stock suspension technologies comparison. I've got all 4 shocks on screen at once. Roll that footage. Yep, here we're looking at the full speed, and we're going to slow it down again to 50 and 25%. This stuff is just nuts. You can see these shocks just working their hearts out, right? They're doing their level best to keep your back feeling good. And I can tell you that the suspension technology shocks have my back feeling so much better after an hour ride than the stock shocks. My goodness, what a big difference. But you can really see what's going on there. And now we're at 25%. Look at that. Oh, what a beautiful thing. I love this slow-mo footage, right? You can just see how much better the damping is and the rebound is on the suspension technologies versus the stock shocks, and just how much of a difference they make. This is just wild. Absolutely wild. After looking at all that, I could use a drink. You should boop the like button. Did you enjoy the video? If you did, boop the like button and then go share it far and wide on your social media. Do me a huge favor. I appreciate it. This is my gift to you and to the sir or madam who sent me the suspension. Thank you again for that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. My back appreciates it. So thank you again so much. And yes, I mentioned gifts. I'm recording this in Christmas season. And if you're not watching it in Christmas season, the past 30 seconds probably makes no sense to you. Either way, it's been a gift year-round. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, that's fine too. Happy Hanukkah, whatever else you celebrate, go to it. The reason for the season is all the same. It's all about giving, right? So I gave you this video. Give me a like, right? I earned it. Did I earn it with my several hours of work put into this? I hope so. Really? No? You in the back. You're not. Raise your hand. Yes. Okay, good. You did appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Now I'm talking to myself. I should just end the video there. Again, if you liked it, boop the like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. Let's start a dialogue. And until next time, you can watch this video here, which is my ride review, because you probably didn't watch that, or YouTube's picked out the video below it. I can't point that way. My thumb doesn't go there. Anyway, I'll leave you with the 2 mantras. 1, you have a 100% track record of making it through a bad day. And 2, do something nice for yourself every day. Maybe it's going out and buying new suspenders for your bike. Bye.